Man, in my 20s, I was a mess. And if I had really understood these 7 things that I'm about to tell you, I would have saved myself a lot of depression, heartache, anxiety, all sorts of stuff. So let me show you these things. These are big deal principles. Okay, so stay till the end and you'll see how they all connect with sort of a creation framework, with a builder's mindset, and with something that can really help you to build a meaningful life. So the first one is about happiness. When I was in my 20s, you could say on paper I was happy, sort of. I had the girlfriends, the good looks, right? And I had a great voice for singing. I got to have fun all the time, and so I kind of added on to that baseline fun or baseline happiness with I started getting into alcohol and drugs and stuff like that because why not? Happiness was the goal, and that's the thing. Happiness is a stupid goal because if you you can't have happiness without meaning, right? And so what I'm saying is you can't have happiness without meaning, and so if you try to make happiness your goal, your God, then you'll put happiness, pleasure, all of these fleeting desires above everything else. And then what will you end up with? Well, you'll end up with just despair because you ruin everything that matters. And so instead, if you look for meaning, then you will start to align yourself with what is true and what is right and what is forward and what is moving and what is growing. And then you will actually be able to be happy. So if you look for happiness as your main goal, then you won't be happy very often. But if you look to align yourself with what is right, then you will be happy a lot more often. And so the next one is, this ties to the one before it, and that is that good and evil actually exist. So there was this professor. He believed that good and evil did not exist objectively, that they were subjective, and he believed he had lots of influence. He spoke to all of these hippies and revolutionary types in the 60s, and he told them that that liberation was the goal, that the oppressors had to be stopped, and that any act that you did that was liberating, that was towards the end of being liberated from your oppressors, was justified. It was good. It was right. And so there was a man who followed in his footsteps, and he actually ended up coming up to white women, and giving them clusters of grapes. And you know what I mean by clusters of grapes. And so he believed that by doing this horrific act, he was liberating. He believed he could move up the hierarchy in of the races and transform himself into the higher being, the higher race, because he believed that he was the subservient race. And so by doing this horrific act over and over, which he did, he thought he was liberating himself. So this is a horrific example. This was Herbert Marcuse was the teacher, and the man who followed in his footsteps, not necessarily directly, but he was in that legacy of that revolutionary type of ideology. And this is a horrific example, but what it shows is that it shows the slippery slope of believing that good and evil do not exist. And what I found is that good is objective and evil is objective, and good is in alignment with life. And so our creator is life, right? He lives, and an outpouring of his life, his desire, his intention is this creation that we are. And we are a product and a reflection of his desire to live. And so he wants to live, and that is his nature. We want to live, that is our nature. And so that which is in alignment with life is good, and that which is in alignment with evil is bad. It's death, right? Life is good, good is life, and death is bad, right? And so if you can start to understand that North Star, that good is life, then you can start to build your creation framework, your life framework, your moral framework around that, and you can actually have something to hold on to. And that doesn't get into all of the details of morality, but that is a very good starting point. So the next one is about women, and I talked a little bit about my past with women, but what I found when I didn't actually learn it in my 20s, but looking back on my 20s, I realized this, and that is that the best women are attracted to builders, okay? So builders are people who have a vision. They're people who are trying to make something. They're trying to build something. They're not trying to just get things. They're not trying to just have pleasure. They have a bigger goal. They have a North Star, that they're determined to build something that is worth it, that has legacy. And so let me tell you about, there's a lot of people that talk about the charisma and the pickup artistry and all these things, right? And so I'll show you just by logic what this is about and why this doesn't work, why these types of techniques will not actually get you very far. So charisma, as an example, is a tool for a builder. So charisma, it's a product. It's something that is built because you're moving towards something. You're determined to get somewhere, and so you're convicted about it, and you believe it with all your soul, and so you speak it out into the world, right? You're animated about it, and so on and so forth. And let's try another one. Good looks, right? Good looks are subjective. So if you have a crooked nose, then that might be on the surface not great for getting women, but a woman will bet on a horse, right? It's figuratively speaking, if they can see that horse is determined to win. They're determined to get to the end, to the finish line, right? And they'll bet on that because beauty is fleeting, and women understand this better than men. And so the looks thing doesn't work either. The being strong is a product of trying to strengthen yourself so that you can get to an end goal, right? And a sense of humor, you could say, oh, well, I don't have a very good sense of humor. I have to fix my sense of humor so that I can get to, so I can attract women. But actually, a sense of humor is again a product of wisdom. It's a product of knowledge. It's a product of a healthy worldview, because you can see the funny things in life because you actually understand what this is all about and what really matters. And so you can laugh at things. You can take things lightheartedly, right? And so all of these things that you try to add to your arsenal, they're just tools that will help you but they're not actually an end in themselves. So you can't just be good at joking and then be attractive to women. You have to have a vision, and and so that woman will bet on that horse, even if their jokes might be stupid, or even if their nose is a little bit crooked, or even if they're not ripped, because they can see their potential, right? So that is something I learned, and that is how I built my family in the end, was by trying to move towards something, and my wife saw that in me. So the next one, some of you are not going to like this, but college is not designed, the main point of college is not to benefit you, okay? So what do I mean by that? I mean that it is made, that college is designed to create widget makers, okay? Widgets who make widgets, right? And so it's like a factory. It creates these widgets, and those widgets can create other widgets. And that is the point of college, right? That doesn't mean college will never benefit you in any way. You can take good things from college just as you can take good things from any experience in life, right? Any tragedy, any happy story, anything, you can take benefit from it. That doesn't mean that it is designed to do so, to benefit you. And so if you don't want to be a widget maker, then you don't have to go to college. And I can explain this a little bit more in detail right now. So if there's all of these permission systems built around college, and it's a filter. It puts you in, and you jump through hoops, and you demonstrate that you will obey, and that you will jump through hoops, and you will jump through a hoop of fire in order to become the person that can make the widgets, and that will obey. And so then you get permission to have this paper, right? And on this paper, it will say, this guy actually obeys. That's really what it means. And so the thing is that there's an entire ecosystem of professions, of occupations that don't require this. People who have gone around that system. And so I'll take an example. If you want to be a doctor, if you want to be a surgeon, and you actually want to be the hands, with these hands you will cut open people and take out their organs and replace them with new ones. If you actually want to do that, it is true that there is a permission system that you have to jump through these hoops to get to this paper to allow you to do that. But if your goal is to help people be healthy, there is an infinity of different ways that you can do that do not involve going to college, right? So the next one is that prolonged shame is one of your worst enemies. Okay, so prolonged shame. What do I mean by that? When you are shameful about an act that you've committed, that's fine. Being shameful about an act that you committed is not the end of the world. You don't have to feel bad that you feel bad for doing something bad. That goes without saying, right? But prolonged shame is different, because prolonged shame does not have redemption involved, and it's something that eats away at all of us. It makes you believe that it stays deep in your subconscious, and it defines you as the person who is going to continue to do the things that you did yesterday, the bad things that you did yesterday. It's a lie that tells you that you will always be that same guy who assaulted the person, the same guy who stole from the store, the same guy who sat on his couch playing video games his whole life, right? And so that shame is actually it's a label that you carry on yourself. And so if you can learn to overcome the shame, it's something that's not an easy process, and you won't overcome it completely necessarily. But if you can learn to override that shame and to overcome it to a certain extent, then you can push forward and you can actually believe the more you believe that you can be a new person today, a reborn person, somebody who wasn't who you weren't yesterday, if you can actually act out that belief in your life, then you can move forward and you can have a meaningful life. And so I won't get into it more, but if you want to understand that better, put that down in the comments. So the next one is kind of weird. You might think, why is he saying this? But it does connect to all of the other ones, and I want to help you understand this. Church is the least hypocritical place you can go. So I want to remind you, these are the things that I thought in my 20s that now I don't think anymore. And one of those things was that I believed that church was a place for hypocrites. And I grew up in the church, but I didn't like it anymore because I believed this lie that it was a place for hypocrites. It was the most hypocritical place because you go there, right? You go to perform, you put on your Sunday best, and you pretend like you're perfect. And this is the act that they all play, but then they do all the bad things, right, during the week. And when actually it's completely the opposite. There's hypocrites all over the world. There's hypocrites inside and outside of church. And the difference, the reason that you go to church is actually maybe because you're a hypocrite, right? You don't go and that makes you a hypocrite. You go because you're a hypocrite, because you realize that you're not perfect. You realize that you say things and then you don't do them. You realize that you believe that one thing is good, but you do something else. And so we're all broken people. And at least if you go to church, people, when they walk in that door, if you understand the system of church and the system of Christianity in general, then you understand that you go in there, and just by going in there, you're admitting that you are imperfect. And so with all the flaws that happen in church and all the bad things that might happen, that is the main point of going to church, because you're trying to understand how you can overcome the bad things, right? And the last one is suffering isn't personal. And this one took me a long time to figure out. I remember I had a bad breakup, and it had to do with the parents of those people. And I'm not saying they were the only reason, but at the time it felt like they were the only reason. And I would say, why me? Why am I the one? I'm a good guy, right? And these people are just oppressing me. They're making me suffer. And why did God choose to make this happen to me? And so I lashed out against suffering itself, right? And I started to do all these hedonistic things in rebellion to sort of take revenge against, at least this is how I see it now. I was taking revenge on the fact that I thought I was being a good guy, and then I got these lemons, right? And so the point is that suffering isn't personal. And I learned this when I understood this idea of this dichotomy, these two opposing forces. So let me help you understand this by explaining this. If hate did not exist, then love, you wouldn't feel it, right? If scarcity did not exist, then you would not be able to appreciate abundance. If people were forced to be nice to you all the time, then you could not appreciate the love that you receive from people, right? If everything was good, then there would be no good, right? And so suffering is a part of life that, and I'm not saying it's necessarily the purpose, but it is what it is. And this phrase has become more and more important to me over in these past few years. It is what it is. You were in this game, and you might as well play the game by the rules, because suffering will always exist. It has always existed. And if it did not exist, you would have no frame of reference to appreciate anything good. There would be no pleasure if there was no pain, right? And so once I understood these 7 things, I'll say them once again. Happiness is a stupid goal. Good and evil objectively exist. The best women are attracted to builders. College isn't designed to benefit you. Prolonged shame is one of your worst enemies. Church is the least hypocritical place you can go, and suffering isn't personal. And once I understood those things, and if you think about all of them, they all connect to this bigger narrative of a creation framework. The nature of life is to perpetuate, to live, to move forward, to grow, right? And if you understand these things, then all of these ideas that I just laid out they actually make sense. And then when you have these things, then you can actually start to build a meaningful life, not a life of pleasure, because pleasure will come, it will go, and it happens all of the time. But you will be able to appreciate, and you will be able to find contentment and joy, and you will feel in alignment, because alignment with the Creator, alignment with this game of life that we're in, this system that has rules and that has frameworks and that has things that work and things that do not work. If you understand those things, then you can have meaning in life, and you can actually enjoy life. So I'm always talking about building a meaningful life, especially for men, and I'll continue to do that. So I hope to talk to you soon, man.